Chapter 1. Aiden helped me the first snow of winter fell, and the Grand Princess hosted a snow viewing soiree. At the party, under the watchful eyes of all, Julian Wellington accepted Princess Isidora's advances. She offered him a winter rose, a token of her affection, and he took it, his fingers gently stroking the delicate petals. The tender gesture stung my eyes. I took a deep breath, pulled my cloak tighter, and turned to leave. But the princess suddenly called out to me, "Miss Ashworth." I stopped, and when I turned back, I saw the princess watching me with a smile, a hint of challenge in her eyes. The garden was filled with noble ladies, some taking shelter from the snow in the pavilion, others admiring the flowers in the grove. I had been hiding behind a tree, my white fur cloak blending in with the snow, thinking I had gone unnoticed. My hiding spot must have been more obvious than I thought. I curtsied properly. "Your Highness." Princess Isidora, dressed in a fiery red gown, descended the steps and walked toward me. Everyone's gaze followed her, including Julian's. His eyes met mine for a fleeting moment before shifting away, as if I were nothing more than an insignificant stranger. I lowered my gaze, a bitter ache spreading through my chest, threatening to burst. The princess stopped in front of me, her expression a mixture of innocence and malice. "Miss Ashworth, you and Jules are engaged. Doesn't that mean we'll be family soon? I shall be his wife, and you his mistress. If you accept that, I will graciously overlook the matter of you snatching that hairpin from me at Aurelia's Emporium the other day." Her tone was magnanimous. My breath caught, and I instinctively looked at Julian. He just watched quietly. He didn't object, not a single word. Jules, that was his intimate name, a name even I had rarely used. He had once begged and coaxed me into saying it twice, but I was too shy, telling him we could wait until after we were married. But now, he and the princess, had they become so close? A lump formed in my throat, and I found it hard to breathe. My vision began to blur. Hearing this, the other ladies began to laugh and congratulate the princess, their words dripping with disdain for me. One of them glanced at me contemptuously. "The princess and Lord Wellington are a match made in heaven. Some people aren't even worthy of being a backdrop. At best, they're just a stepping stone for the princess's love." Another chimed in, "Exactly. A man of Lord Wellington's noble bearing is worthy only of the princess. As for certain others, they should stop dreaming." Princess Isidora was delighted by the flattery, rewarding the ladies with gifts. When her eyes met mine, they were filled with blatant triumph. She was the Grand Princess's youngest daughter, spoiled by the Emperor himself. She was used to getting everything she wanted. Perhaps the only thing she couldn't have was Julian Wellington. Because Julian and I were engaged and deeply in love, the princess had caused me no end of trouble. And every single time, Julian would appear to defend me. He had always protected me so well. But now, he just stood silently on the steps, coldly watching it all unfold. The scorn and mockery of the noble ladies washed over me like a suffocating tide. Finally, Julian moved. A flicker of hope ignited within me. He walked toward me, his expression unreadable, his dark eyes resting on me for a moment. He spoke, his voice low and chilling. "The snow is beautiful, but it's cold. You should go inside and warm up." As he spoke, his gaze shifted to the princess. He reached out and affectionately tightened her cloak. In that instant, my tiny spark of hope was extinguished, and an endless darkness enveloped me. The noise of the party amplified around me. I felt dizzy, unsteady on my feet. I saw the princess coquettishly cling to his arm as he led her inside the hall. The other ladies followed close behind. A servant closed the heavy doors, but I could still faintly hear the princess's laughter and Julian's indulgent voice from within. Snow began to fall again, and I was left alone in the vast winter garden. I tilted my head back and sniffed, feeling the snowflakes melt on my face like tears. Footsteps approached from behind, and a red umbrella blocked my view, shielding me from the falling snow. "Why are you crying?" A gentle, refined voice spoke from behind me, tinged with a faint helplessness. I turned and saw a familiar fox fur cloak. It was the birthday gift I had spent half a month choosing for him at Aurelia's Emporium. It was Aiden Fairfax. I looked up at him, and he met my gaze with gentle warmth. All my grievances suddenly found an outlet, and tears streamed down my face. Aiden sighed, pulling me into his arms and wrapping the thick cloak around me. I tried to push him away. Such intimacy was improper, but Aiden held me fast, pressing me closer into his embrace. "Go on and cry. No one can see." Those words shattered my composure. All thoughts of etiquette and propriety vanished. All I wanted was to cry my heart out. What did I do wrong? Why is he treating me like this? He was never like this before. I clutched his coat, the sorrow overwhelming me until I was nearly exhausted from weeping. My sobs were muffled by the heavy cloak. Aiden gently patted my back, soothing me as if I were a child. "I'm sorry, I came back too late." His gentle voice was laced with deep regret. Aiden had been sent away by the Emperor on a mission that had lasted half a year. He had written to me, promising to be back before my birthday. After a while, I managed to regain some control and gently pushed him away. Aiden released me. "Feeling any better?" I looked up at him, my vision blurred by tears. He gently wiped them from my cheeks with his thumb and sighed. "I told you before, he is not the right man for you." My heart clenched. I instinctively grabbed his sleeve and looked at him, pleading, "Aiden, help me." Julian had accepted the princess's affections. My engagement to him would have to be broken. I would never be a mistress. But the Wellingtons were far more powerful than my family. My father would never agree to break the engagement. He was content to let me be the lesser wife. So, my only hope was Aiden. Aiden had been a ward in my family's home as a child, and I had always called him Brother Aiden. Back then, he was withdrawn and melancholic, and I was the only one brave enough to stick by his side. But now, he was the Prime Minister, second only to the Emperor, a trusted confidant with immense power and prestige. Ending an engagement would be a simple matter for him. Aiden looked at me for a long moment, then slowly nodded. "All right," relief washed over me. I took a step back and began to curtsy. "Thank you," but before I could, Aiden took my arm. "There's no need. Let me escort you from the palace." I walked silently beside him, the umbrella he held tilted in my direction. For some reason, I glanced back at the palace hall. The doors that had been shut tight were now slightly ajar. I saw a flash of a familiar robe before it disappeared. Aiden spoke suddenly. "Don't worry, no one will see you. They're all too busy fawning over Lord Wellington and the princess." I looked back at him and gave a muffled nod. Aiden was quiet on the way home. By the time I arrived, news of Julian and the princess's public display of affection had already spread, along with the scandal of my humiliation. Just like that, I had become the laughingstock of the capital. When my father found out, he flew into a rage and confined me to my room. My mother came to comfort me, advising me to be submissive and please the princess to avoid a difficult life after marrying into the Wellington family. I didn't argue. I waited anxiously for word from Aiden. But to my surprise, the first person to call on me was Julian Wellington. Chapter 2. Even in death, you will die in the Wellington estate. After composing myself, I went to the main hall to see him. He was dressed in black, his expression dark. He was alone. My parents must have been sent away. My heart tightened and I hesitated at the door. The next moment, Julian's cold voice cut through the air. "You're here, come in. Do you think I'm going to eat you in your own home?" His sharp gaze shot toward me, so intense it felt as if it were physically choking me through the door. There it was again. Taking a deep breath, I stepped inside and curtsied properly. "Lord Wellington?" Julian said nothing, elegantly sipping his tea. The steam curled around his face as he slowly looked up at me. "You want to break the engagement?" He said it casually, without a trace of anger, but my palms were already slick with sweat. My mind raced as I carefully chose my words. "Lord Wellington, you have a majestic presence, and the princess is of noble birth. I am of humble status and know I should not stand in the way." "Therefore," Julian cut me off. "Willow Ashworth." His dark eyes swirled with emotions I couldn't decipher, but the way his fingers tightened around the teacup told me his mood was turning foul. With a soft click, he set the cup down, a hint of displeasure in his voice. "Our engagement was arranged by our grandparents. Our families have signed the contracts, the dowry has been agreed upon. How can you speak of breaking it so lightly?" Hearing this, a sense of grievance welled up inside me. So he did remember it was our grandparents' wish. He did remember we were about to be married. I took a deep breath, suppressing the ache in my heart. "My grandfather betrothed me to you as your wife. The princess is also deeply in love with you. How will you choose, Lord Wellington?" The moment I finished speaking, there was a sharp crack. Julian had crushed the teacup in his hand. Tea and blood dripped onto the table. Willow Ashworth. The way he said my name sent a chill down my spine, and I couldn't help but take a step back. Julian's eyes were fixed on me. In their depths, I saw affection and reluctance, but more than that, there was anger and hatred. He shot to his feet, his overwhelming presence pressing down on me. His face was dark. "Are you forcing my hand?" I gritted my teeth and met his aggressive gaze. "I wouldn't dare. I am merely helping you make a choice." Silence fell. Julian's simmering anger twisted his features into something terrifying. A vein throbbed on his forehead. It was as if I had struck a nerve. Fear seized me, and I turned to run. But Julian lunged, grabbing my shoulders, the veins on the back of his hands bulging. The pain was sharp, a mixture of shock and anger. "What are you doing?" "Lord Wellington," I tried to push him away, but my strength was nothing to him. Julian leaned in close, his eyes bloodshot, and ground out his words. "What right do you have to make a choice for me? Who do you think you are?" His voice was thick with an inescapable hatred. "Tell me, on what grounds do you break this engagement? Do you think you can provoke me and walk away unscathed?" "I'm telling you, that's impossible. Willow Ashworth, even if it's as a mistress, you will marry into my family. You owe me that." I never could have imagined that the bright young man who once watched the stars with me could change so completely overnight, becoming so gloomy and wrathful. It was as if he were a different person. He had gone mad, and I felt like I was going mad with him. I shouted back, "What do I owe you?" "Julian Wellington, tell me what I owe you." Tears streamed down my face as I glared back at him. "You were the one who promised me a lifetime together, and you're the one who is now doting on the princess. You were the one who said you would give me the best of everything in the world, and now you're the one telling me to be your mistress. Julian Wellington, you tell me, what do I owe you? What unforgivable sin did I commit for you to treat me this way?" For a moment, Julian froze. But it was only for a moment. He erupted in a furious roar. "You owe me, you could never repay it in a lifetime. Willow Ashworth, whatever I do, you will endure it." He paused, a derisive smile spreading across his face as if he'd remembered something. "Did you think getting close to Aiden Fairfax would let you break the engagement? Let me tell you, as long as I don't agree, the Emperor will never permit it. If you had any decency, you would stay away from Aiden Fairfax, not embrace him behind everyone's backs." I vaguely remembered the door, closed and then opened again that day. So he really had seen us. If word of that got out, wouldn't I drag Aiden down with me? He was such a respected and honorable man. If his name was tarnished because of me, then I truly would be unforgivable. All my fight vanished in that instant. Julian looked down at me, his anger growing as I fell silent. "Willow Ashworth, you are not innocent. Don't you dare act like the victim here, and don't even think of climbing into another man's bed. Even in death, you will die in the Wellington estate." With that blood-soaked vow, Julian flung his sleeves and stormed out without a backward glance. I watched him go, then stumbled and fell to the floor. After the fear came a profound sense of desolation. What did I owe him? At some point, my devotion had been cruelly trampled and humiliated by him. What on earth did I owe him? Exhausted, I returned to my room and collapsed onto the bed, my mind blank. When did it all start? I think it was 3 months ago during the autumn hunt. Back then, Julian was on horseback, reins in one hand, bow in the other, smiling brilliantly at me. He had said, "Willow, you wait once I win the prize, I'll add it to your dowry and marry you in style." He had freed a hand to touch my cheek, the love in his eyes nearly overflowing. "I can't wait to marry you. Why can't we move the date up? Those old fools at the estate are driving me crazy." Then, he was full of life, his eyes and heart filled with only me. Later, there was an incident in the woods. Princess Isadora was ambushed, and he happened upon the scene. He was severely injured while saving her. And when he woke up, everything had changed. The boy who had loved and cherished me became gloomy and volatile. When I went to visit him, his servant blocked me at the gate, belittling my family's low status and saying I was unworthy of his master. I was ridiculed by the nobles and commoners for a long time after that. Thinking back now, the servant would never have dared, had Julian not instructed him to. I didn't know why he wouldn't see me, but I still sent him his favorite rosewater tarts, which I had made myself as a peace offering. But he only glanced at them before sweeping them to the floor, letting the dogs fight over the scraps. He said his taste had changed, that he no longer liked such sweet things. Now I realize it was never about the tarts. It was about me. This went on for a long time. Once, he snuck into my room in the middle of the night and questioned me like a madman. He asked me why. He asked if my conscience was clear. He asked if I had any regrets. They were all things I didn't understand. That night, his terrifying image completely replaced the bright young man in my heart. I began to fear him, to dread him, but I still held onto a sliver of hope. After all, we had grown up together. Perhaps he was sick, perhaps, until he accepted the princess's affections. I was tired. This time, I truly couldn't go on. A bond of more than a decade, if it was gone, it was gone. Julian Wellington, what do I really owe you? I fell into a long, restless sleep. I had many strange and terrifying dreams that left me drenched in a cold sweat. In a daze, I heard voices: my father, my mother, my handmaiden. When I woke again, it felt as if a lifetime had passed. You're awake. Chapter 3. He personally cared for her. A gentle, warm voice spoke, and a dry, warm hand rested on my forehead. I turned my head and saw Aiden Fairfax sitting by my bed. He was dressed in a pristine white robe, looking elegant and composed. He seemed to let out a sigh of relief as he removed his hand. The fever's broken. I was stunned for a moment, not quite understanding the situation. Aiden explained, you came down with a high fever 3 days ago and have been unconscious ever since. The doctors were at a loss, so when I heard, I summoned the royal physician. How are you feeling now? Aiden. My voice was hoarse and my throat was sore. I had been sick. Drink some water first. Aiden helped me sit up and held a cup of warm water to my lips. I was weak, leaning on him as I took small sips. He said, he's just one man, Julian Wellington. Why torture yourself like this? His tone was full of helplessness and pity. I paused, pushed the cup away, and managed to sit up straight, turning to look at him. Aiden was only 5 years old when he first came to the Ashworth estate. He was thin and withdrawn, and not many in the household liked him. But he was so handsome that I had claimed him as my brother from the very first moment, causing quite a few amusing incidents. Years later, when he was 10, the Fairfax family came to take him home. Now, more than a decade had passed. Although we kept in touch, this level of intimacy was highly improper. That day at the palace, I had lost my head. This time, I couldn't let him be implicated because of me again. I am still engaged, and the rumors circulating are terrible. You shouldn't have come to the Ashworth estate, Aiden. And you certainly shouldn't be in my room. I looked at him apologetically. Aiden offered a kind smile. You call me your brother. Isn't it natural for a brother to care for his sister? Don't overthink it. That did not reassure me. Lord Wellington saw us that day. If word gets out, it could be detrimental to you. I know. It doesn't matter. Aiden helped me lean back against the headboard and naturally tuck the blankets around me. Just focus on getting well. Don't get sick again. As for breaking the engagement, it's a bit complicated, but I will make sure your wish is granted. He moved back slightly, sitting on the stool by the bed, and picked up the bowl of medicine from the table. I reached for it, but he brought it to his own lips, blew on it gently, then scooped up a spoonful and held it to my mouth. He was going to feed me himself. I was horrified. I can do it myself. Aiden avoided my hand, his voice gentle. Aren't you curious why the engagement hasn't been broken yet? Why? I had thought it would be simple. Julian had long grown tired of me, and Princess Isadora despised me. With Aiden's status as Prime Minister, a quiet word with the Emperor should have resolved everything smoothly. But instead of a resolution, I got a visit from Julian. He loathed me, yet he refused to let me go. Why? Drink your medicine and I'll tell you. Left with no choice, I obediently opened my mouth and swallowed the bitterly unpleasant medicine. Aiden looked surprised. You really have grown up. You're even taking your medicine without a fuss. I felt a blush creep up my cheeks. I'm a woman now. It was true, I used to hate taking medicine. It was so bitter I would throw up every time. When I was little, my mother and my handmaiden would coax me. Later, it was Aiden. And after that, it was Jew. I collected my thoughts. Can you tell me now, Aiden? Aiden looked at me with pity in his eyes. First, can you tell me why you can swallow such bitter medicine now? In an instant, my nose tingled and I quickly looked away. It's nothing, I just got used to it. Over the past 3 months, I had been so consumed with worry over Julian that I had caught 2 colds. Taking medicine had become routine. I gradually realized it wasn't that I couldn't swallow it before. It was just that I had been spoiled by having people to coax and pamper me. Aiden reached out and gently stroked my hair, not pressing the matter further. He began to explain. The engagement between the Ashworth and Wellington families was arranged by the former Prime Minister and the old Marquis. Both were tutors to the Emperor, so His Majesty is reluctant to interfere, as it was not a match he decreed. Furthermore, Julian Wellington refuses to break the engagement, so the Emperor is at a standstill. He has suggested that our two families resolve it privately. As for Princess Isidora, the Emperor has said he will postpone her betrothal until you and Julian have reached a conclusion. The more I heard, the colder my heart grew. The Emperor's words were essentially meaningless, a symbolic gesture of respect to my family. After all, my grandfather, the former Prime Minister, had once been his tutor. If only that incident had never happened, things would be so much better. The Ashworth family wouldn't be in a position where anyone in the capital could walk all over them. Hearing this, Aiden sighed. The family's hopes now rest on Leo. I hope he matures and stops being so reckless. Leo Ashworth, my younger brother. He was an average student who was obsessed with martial arts, which caused endless arguments with our parents. In the end, my father had to tie him up and send him to the academy, with guards posted to make sure he didn't cause any more trouble. The Emperor hasn't issued a decree, and your wedding date is still some time away. There's still time. We'll find a way, trust me. I looked at him and slowly nodded. Right now, he was all I could trust. It won't be convenient for me to visit you in the future. Take good care of yourself, do you understand? If you need anything, have your handmaiden find me or write me a letter. I nodded again. Aiden gave a few more instructions before rising to leave. As I watched him go, I suddenly called out, "Thank you, brother Aiden." Aiden froze, then turned to look at me, his eyes unreadable. "Don't thank me just yet. You know that when I help you, there are always conditions." Perhaps it was my imagination, but his last words seemed to carry a hidden meaning. When we were children, Aiden never helped me for free. His payment was sometimes a candy figure, sometimes a woven grasshopper. What would he ask for now? I thought about it for a long time but couldn't guess what he wanted, so I gave up. Whatever it was, he would never put me in a difficult position. After Aiden left, I called for my handmaiden, Cora, and asked her what had happened. Her story matched Aiden's. She added that my mother had politely declined his offer to stay and care for me, citing the impropriety of it all. Aiden had simply said he was repaying the kindness of our family for taking him in years ago. That was why he had left so quickly after I woke up. Soon after, my parents came to see me. My mother held my hand and cried with pity. My father's face was grim, lost in thought. He suddenly asked me, "Willow, what is the nature of your relationship with the Prime Minister?" "What?" I froze. My mother also looked up at him. My father was silent for a moment before saying, "Since you are unwilling to marry Lord Wellington, then the Prime Minister." I cut him off sharply. "Father, what do you take your daughter for? And what do you take the Prime, Lord Fairfax, for?" My father pressed his lips together, his expression incredibly complex. "Willow, you are the firstborn daughter of the Ashworth family. You must bear the responsibilities that come with that title." Chapter 4. Abducting her to the Wellington estate, I straightened my expression. I knew why my father insisted I marry into the Wellington family, even as a mistress. "Father, I understand your worries. The Ashworth family is in a difficult position, and it is only because of the engagement to the Wellingtons that we have survived this long. You're afraid that if we break the engagement, our family will be swallowed by the powerful factions in the capital, our name forgotten. So you want me to cling to Lord Wellington as if he were a lifeline. But father, you've seen it yourself. The bond Lord Wellington and I shared for over a decade, it vanished in an instant. He turned his back on me to marry Princess Isidora. It's not that I didn't try, but all he gave me was humiliation. He despises me. What good could I do for our family by marrying into his?" At this, my mother patted my back, weeping silently. If the affection between Lord Wellington and me is so unreliable, what can be said of the bond between myself and the Prime Minister, which is nothing more than a sibling-like affection from our childhood? For now, the Prime Minister remembers his time with our family and has been very generous to us. But if you were to make such an abrupt proposal and offend him, my father's resolve was already wavering. I continued, "When grandfather arranged this marriage, he promised me the position of the primary wife. Now that our family has fallen, the Wellingtons have gone back on their word and want me to be a mistress. If our family remains silent in the face of such humiliation, won't we become a complete laughingstock in the capital? Father, Leo is a man now. I will do everything in my power, alongside him, to restore the honor of the Ashworth name. This was the longest conversation I had had with my father in the past 3 months. I had tried to discuss breaking the engagement before, but he had always flown into a rage. I, in turn, would get hurt and angry, and we would end up in a terrible argument. Now that I had let go, I could see things more clearly. I hoped my father would stop pressuring me. My father looked at me, his lips pressed tightly together, and said nothing for a long time. Finally, he sighed. Fine, we will wait and see. I let out a breath of relief. Thank you, Father, for your understanding. My father turned and left, his back looking weary. My mother squeezed my hand. Willow, your father was just worried about the family. He does understand how you feel. I nodded. I know. After that incident, my grandfather was gone, and nearly half of the young, promising men of the Ashworth family had perished. My father had 2 older brothers, one a scholar and the other a warrior, both exceptional men, but they too had died in the turmoil. My father was the only one left from the main branch of the family. He was only 14 at the time, forced to take over the crumbling Ashworth estate. Back then, all the families close to us were affected, and for a long time, no one dared to offer help. My father had been walking on eggshells ever since. My mother sighed and patted my hand. Here, lie down. Just focus on getting better for now. All right. Sickness comes like a landslide but leaves like a thread being pulled. Coupled with the cold weather, my illness lingered. A steady stream of restorative medicines from Aiden Fairfax arrived at our door, which only made me more anxious. Sure enough, scandalous rumors about him and me began to spread. They called me a seductress who had used witchcraft to bewitch the cold and celestial Prime Minister. They called me a wanton woman, engaged to Lord Wellington while shamelessly seducing the Prime Minister. They said I was shameless, that I had been caressing the Prime Minister in the palace. All the rumors painted me as the one who had seduced Aiden. When my handmaiden, Cora, told me about them, she was furious. My lady, how can they say such things about you? You've done nothing wrong, but I felt a sense of relief. At least they were talking about me, not Aiden. But then, another worry surfaced. With my reputation in tatters, it would surely affect Leo at the academy. Cora, keep an eye on my brother for the next few days. Leo had always been impulsive. If he heard about this, there was no telling what he might do. Just as I finished speaking, a commotion erupted outside. Lord Wellington, you can't go in there, that is Our Lady's private chamber. Get out of my way, my heart froze. It was Julian. I gave Cora a look, telling her to get our mother. My father was not home today. Julian was here, and he was clearly looking for trouble. Cora had just slipped out a side door when Julian kicked my door open. I immediately closed my eyes and pretended to be unconscious. Heavy footsteps approached. Julian reached my bedside and felt my forehead. Willow. He whispered my name, testing me. I had been running a fever on and off since I got sick. I had just taken my medicine and was starting to sweat. My forehead must have felt hot to him. Even with my eyes closed, I could feel his invasive gaze on me. My hands, hidden under the covers, clenched into fists. I prayed my mother would arrive soon. Julian seemed to be staring at me, his hand lingering on my forehead. Suddenly, his hand moved down, stroking my cheek. Julian was a trained warrior and his fingers were calloused. The touch sent a shiver down my spine. I heard him say, "Are you asleep or have you fainted?" His voice was laced with sarcasm, as if he had seen through my clumsy act. But I gritted my teeth and kept my eyes shut. The rumors about Aiden and me had just started, and now here he was, storming in. He must think I was the one who started them and had come to confront me. Julian let out a noncommittal scoff, and the hand on my cheek moved abruptly downward. It traced my jawline and moved toward my neck. I panicked, thinking he was about to assault me. I was about to open my eyes when he suddenly grabbed the blanket, wrapped me in it, and lifted me into his arms, carrying me out of the room. My mother arrived, but it was too late. "Lord Wellington, Willow is still ill, what are you doing?" "Even though you are engaged, this is highly—" Julian's cold, unfeeling voice cut her off. "Willow is gravely ill. I am taking her to my estate to recover, lest certain people take advantage of the situation and tarnish her name." His meaning was clear. Could it be that he thought Aiden was the one who started the rumors? My mother couldn't stop him. In the time it took to exchange those few words, he had already carried me out of the courtyard. By then, the servants had gathered, all trying to stop him, but none dared to truly stand in his way. If I woke up now, it would be incredibly awkward, and who knows what rumors would spread. It was better to keep up the pretense. And just like that, Julian Wellington forced his way into the Ashworth estate and abducted me, taking me to his own chambers in his family's mansion. After placing me on the bed, Julian took a cloth and gently wiped the sweat from my brow. He seemed to sigh very softly. Then, he called for the royal physician, who checked my pulse again and prescribed more medicine. For a moment, I was grateful that I was genuinely sick. People came and went, and then the room fell silent. But I knew Julian was still there. I could feel his gaze on me, as if it had a physical weight. Suddenly, a hand was on my face again, caressing it with a strange tenderness. Julian let out a long sigh. "Willow, why did it have to be you?" I couldn't see his expression, but from his voice, he sounded like he was in great pain, torn. But what did he have to be pained about? The one being tormented was me. Julian sat on the edge of the bed, took my hand, and his voice softened, returning to the deep affection of before. "Willow, I truly, truly love you, in my past life and in this one." Chapter 5. He was reincarnated. Julian pressed his face against my hand and even kissed it. But in the next second, his voice was filled with hatred. "But why did you betray me? 153 souls in the Wellington estate, not a single one survived. Willow, I loved you so much. When you lay beside me, were you loving me, or were you planning how to pass on your messages?" He started to laugh as he spoke. "Willow, why? Why?" Hot tears fell on the back of my hand, and my heart pounded with terror. What was he talking about? When had I ever betrayed him? When had the Wellington family ever? Julian's voice became choked with emotion. "By some miracle, I was reborn. This time, I will not let those people succeed, including you, Willow. Do you have any idea how I felt when I woke up and saw you? I wanted to kill you, to make you pay for what you did to my family, but when it came time to actually do it, I found I couldn't bring myself to. I couldn't do it. I'm so useless." I remembered the first time I saw Julian after he woke up. I hadn't understood the turbulent emotions in his eyes then, only that he seemed like a stranger, and it frightened me. Now I understood. He wanted to kill me. He hated me. Julian continued, "I won't let you break the engagement, and I won't give you the chance to betray me again. I will keep you by my side forever. Don't even think about escaping." My breathing grew ragged. Past life, this life, a massacre, betrayal, I think I understood. But along with the shock came confusion. How could I possibly have betrayed him? I needed an answer. I opened my eyes, looked at the grief-stricken Julian, and spoke slowly. "Is this what you meant when you said I owe you?" Julian's head snapped up, his eyes wide with shock. Then a wave of overwhelming rage washed over me. "Willow Ashworth, you were faking it to trick me?" His eyes were bloodshot, his expression screaming, just as I thought. I sat up and pressed him. "You believe I betrayed you in a past life, so now you're taking your revenge on me. Is that right?" Julian stared at me, saying nothing, but the chilling aura radiating from him made it clear he wanted to kill me. I threw back the covers and stepped onto the cold floor with my bare feet. Julian's eyes narrowed at the sight. I advanced on him, step by step. "Why did I betray you? You, of all people, should know my character. I've known you for over a decade. Unless someone crosses an unforgivable line, I always try to be civil. Didn't you used to say I was too soft-hearted? Even now, after you've betrayed me and chosen the princess, all I want is to break our engagement. I have no desire for revenge, no plan to destroy your entire family. I wouldn't even have the power to do so." I kept walking toward him, and he kept backing away. "What could possibly make me betray you and wipe out your entire family? Julian Wellington, what did you do?" Julian stumbled back into the screen behind him. I stopped 2 steps away from him, looked up, and asked, enunciating every word, "Julian Wellington, what did you do? Was it really all my fault?" Julian's breathing became erratic. "Don't try to twist my words." I took another step forward. "Am I twisting your words, or is it that you have a guilty conscience?" I didn't yield an inch. "You can't condemn me based on a past I don't remember. After all, you were the one who once swore you'd marry no one but me, and now you're the one accepting the princess's affections. Julian Wellington, are you truly innocent?" Julian suddenly laughed, a hollow sound, and grabbed my shoulders. He wasn't using much force, but it reminded me of the last time. This time, however, I wasn't afraid. I was angry. He leaned down, his voice a near hoarse whisper. What if it was because of that incident? My heart skipped a beat. The incident involving my grandfather, the former prime minister, was practically a state secret. No one knew why the Ashworth family had suffered such a catastrophe. No one dared to speak of it, no one dared to ask. Not even my father knew the full story. Perhaps that's why he was spared. Julian let go of me, his arrogant demeanor returning. Willow Ashworth, since you know, I won't hide it from you. If you want your family to remain safe, you will do as I say. Do not attempt to break this engagement. I pressed my lips together. I didn't know how much he knew about the incident, and he certainly wouldn't tell me. Confronting him now would only endanger my family. For now, I had no choice but to yield. I turned and walked back to the bed without another word. Julian snorted and left the room. Lying in bed, I replayed his words in my mind. It was related to that incident. Something that could make me betray him and destroy his family. Could it be that the Wellingtons were the masterminds behind it all? I couldn't think of any other reason. If not for some deep-seated hatred, why would I ever betray him? My thoughts were a tangled mess. I didn't know what to do. There was only one small comfort. I no longer held any expectations for Julian Wellington. Otherwise, my heart would be twisted in knots right now. I let out a heavy breath and closed my eyes to rest. Now that I knew this much, Julian wouldn't let me go back easily. I might as well focus on getting better. I needed my strength to escape. But 3 days later, Julian stormed into the room, his face dark. Willow Ashworth, you really are something. He spoke through gritted teeth. I just looked at him, silent. Julian strode forward and grabbed my chin, his grip painful. You have such a good brother, don't you? For 3 days straight, he has been petitioning against me, demanding that I release you back to your family. My heart sank. I hadn't expected it to be Aiden. Julian leaned in, his lips almost touching mine. Willow Ashworth, Aiden Fairfax is in love with you, isn't he? He hid it so well, I never even noticed. Tell me, if he knew you were already mine, would he still be trying so hard to help you? A wave of terror washed over me. What are you going to do? Julian let out a dark laugh, and his lips crashed down on mine, grinding against them. At the same time, he started tearing at my clothes. I fought back in a panic, but my struggles were useless against his strength. Tears of fear streamed down my face, and my body trembled uncontrollably. In my terror, I remembered a self-defense trick Julian himself had once taught me. Back when Princess Isadora was jealous of me, she had tried to harm me on several occasions, both openly and in secret. The Grand Princess always protected her, so there was little Julian could do. So, he taught me how to protect myself. Willow, you wear hairpins every day. If anyone ever tries to harm you again and I'm not there, don't be afraid. Just remember this. He had said it with such conviction, such sincerity. No matter what, I will never abandon you. You are the only woman I will ever marry. First, you must lower the attacker's guard. Then secretly grasp your hairpin, embrace him, and stab him in the back, right in the heart. You must be fast, hard, and precise. Even if it's not a fatal blow, it will buy you time to escape. Julian had already pushed me onto the bed. In the chaos, my hand found the hairpin in my hair. Chapter 6. You use the method I taught you to kill me as one arm wrapped around Julian, the other, holding the hairpin, rose high in the air. He seemed to sense it and looked up sharply. In that instant, he caught my descending hand, his grip so tight I thought my wrist would break. I held onto the hairpin, my fingers white from the strain, still trying to drive it downward. Julian stared at me, his eyes filled with disbelief and rage. You used the method I taught you to kill me. His voice was hoarse as if something was caught in his throat. I glared back, defiant. I just never thought you would be the first person I'd have to use it on. Julian's breathing grew labored, as if he couldn't accept what was happening. His bloodshot eyes began to gleam with madness. His grip on my wrist tightened. A sharp pain shot through my arm, and my fingers went numb, releasing the hairpin. I couldn't feel my hand anymore. He was trying to cripple me. In his fury, Julian lost all reason. I can't bring myself to kill you with my own hands, he spat, but I can make you die in this bed. A brutal kiss fell upon me, relentless and suffocating. This time, there was no escape. You betrayed me first, Julian muttered, almost delirious. I loved you, I protected you, and you betrayed me. Willow Ashworth, this time I won't let you go. Just as I thought all hope was lost, a sharp voice cried out. Julian Wellington, what are you doing? My eyes flew open. For the first time in my life, Princess Isadora's voice sounded like music from the heavens. Her furious face appeared in my line of sight. She reached for Julian, but he shoved her away. Get out, he roared. The princess fell to the floor, staring at him in disbelief, tears streaming down her face. Julian Wellington, I am a princess. My mother is the Grand Princess, and my uncle is the Emperor. How dare you treat me like this? A sliver of sanity seemed to return to Julian. He closed his eyes, his jaw clenched as if fighting for control. Finally, he got off me. I scrambled up and tried to fix my clothes, but they were torn to shreds, barely covering me. Julian took a deep breath and went to help the princess up, his voice softening. Your Highness, I apologize. The princess glared at him. No one has ever dared to push me, not even you. And for Willow Ashworth, of all people. Her gaze shifted to me. Willow Ashworth, have you no shame? You haven't even married into the family, and you're already throwing yourself at Jules. What will you be like once you're his wife? I lowered my eyes, my voice steady. You are right, Your Highness. Perhaps you should ask the Emperor to issue a decree and annul the engagement between Lord Wellington and myself. Otherwise, when I marry into the family, I'll certainly have to compete with you for his affections. And you know how much he used to love me. It was the first time I had ever talked back to the princess, the first time I had ever debased myself like this. Julian had forced me to. The princess, hearing this, flew into a rage and began cursing at me. Julian just stared at me, not refuting my words. This only made the princess even more furious. Just then, someone at the door announced that my family had come to take me home. A wave of relief washed over me. The princess stepped past Julian, glaring at me. Well, what are you waiting for? Get out, or do you want to stay here longer? I looked down at my disheveled state. It was not proper for me to leave like this. The princess seemed to notice and smirked. Scared now, are you? Well, I want everyone to see what a wanton woman you are. I'm warning you all, she announced to the servants. No one is to give her a change of clothes. Let her walk out just like that. She then turned to Julian. What do you think, Jules? Julian gave me a cold look. An excellent idea. I gritted my teeth and didn't move. Aiden had petitioned against Julian, forcing him to let me go. The petition must have centered on Julian's misconduct. But if I walked out like this, with my clothes in tatters, the rumors would naturally shift in Julian's favor, even without the princess's help. And that would cast doubt on Aiden's petition. I frantically tried to think of what to do. Footsteps echoed from the doorway again. A voice preceded its owner. Is Lord Wellington still not planning to release her? Aiden, my eyes lit up. But then I remembered my current state, and a wave of shame washed over me. Willow, to my surprise, it was my mother who entered. Her eyes reddened the moment she saw me. She rushed over and wrapped her thick cloak around me, then turned to glare at Julian. I recognized the cloak. It was the fox fur I had chosen for Aiden. He was waiting outside. My nose began to tingle. Lord Wellington, you abducted Willow to your estate under the pretense of caring for her, forbade my family from visiting, and now this. The Ashworth family may have fallen, we may not be as powerful as the Wellingtons, but we still have our honor. The Ashworth family will not let this matter rest. All my forced composure and strength crumbled in that moment. My mother put her arm around me and started to lead me out. Julian suddenly spoke. Leo Ashworth has his university entrance exams next year, I believe. My mother and I both froze. She turned back. You have a long reach, Lord Wellington. My body went rigid. I could feel his eyes on my back. I knew that wasn't a threat to my mother. It was a warning to me. A warning not to say anything when I got back, or else Leo, a figure stepped through the doorway, tall and graceful as the moon. The matter of the exams is not something Lord Wellington needs to concern himself with. Aiden's voice was calm, but it deflected all of Julian's malice. The two men locked eyes, a silent battle of wills. I squeezed my mother's hand and glanced at Aiden. Let's go. Aiden's gaze finally fell on me, but he quickly looked away as if he couldn't bear to see me like this. All right. There was a faint, almost imperceptible tremor in his voice. Outside the estate, my mother thanked Aiden, and he responded with polite courtesy. The Ashworth family once took me in. I see Willow as a sister. It is only right that I help. With that one sentence, he addressed all the recent rumors. It was merely sibling affection, nothing improper. Then, Aiden watched as my mother and I boarded our carriage and left. Inside, my mother looked at me and began to cry again. After a long silence, she finally spoke. "This engagement must be broken. Mother, I'm going to sleep for a bit. Wake me when we get home." I closed my eyes, but the horrifying scenes from earlier replayed in my mind. My hands, hidden under the cloak, clenched into tight fists. When we got home, I heard that my father had gone to the palace overnight. My mother stayed with me for half the night. I finally had to pretend to be asleep to get her to leave. I couldn't sleep, but I didn't want her to worry. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw those degrading images, and a physical sense of fear and disgust washed over me. I thought if Princess Isadora hadn't happened to come in, if Julian had really wanted me dead, what would I have done? For the first time, my hatred for Julian Wellington reached its peak. If he hated me, he could have just killed me. Instead, he claimed he couldn't bring himself to do it, and then proceeded to humiliate me in every way possible. Suddenly, there was a soft knock on the window pane. Then, a voice. Willow, Chapter 7. He has always been this way. A figure was silhouetted against the window in the moonlight. It was Aiden. I thought I should come, but if you don't want me to, I'll leave right now. The figure stood silently outside the window, not daring to intrude. I thought he probably knows. After a long moment, I said nothing, and Aiden didn't leave. I could hear the wind howling. It was probably going to snow. I said, "I'm fine, you should go back, it's cold outside." The silhouette didn't move. "Just sleep," he said. I didn't reply. I didn't know what to say. I just stared at the shadow on the window. He turned slightly, and the wind blew through his hair. The wind outside seemed very strong. Before I knew it, I had fallen asleep watching the shadow on my window. The terrifying images did not return. When I woke up, the sun was high in the sky. Cora said it had snowed all night, and the wind had been so strong that the corridors were covered in snow. I ran to the window and pushed it open. On the sill sat a tiny, woven grasshopper. Below the window was a single set of footprints. Aiden had stood guard all night. I had Cora clear the footprints away so no one would see them. She was always obedient and didn't ask any questions. I looked at the little grasshopper in my hand and finally placed it inside my dressing table. After lunch, Cora told me what was happening outside. The Prime Minister petitioned against Lord Wellington, and with our master going to the palace to see the Emperor and invoking the name of your grandfather, Lord Wellington has been ordered to remain confined to his estate for reflection. As for breaking the engagement, the Emperor made no mention of it. I nodded. How is Leo? Our master had already ordered that no news of this reach the young master's ears, so he still doesn't know. That's good. I thought for a moment. Prepare a pen and paper. I need to write a letter to the Prime Minister. Yes, my lady. Regarding the incident, the only person I could think of who would be willing to help me was Aiden. I wrote a letter and had Cora deliver it personally to Aiden's residence. Julian wouldn't just let me be, he would surely have someone watching me. Until I knew who the spy was, I couldn't reveal anything. The letter was just a simple note of thanks and well wishes, but I thought Aiden would understand. After a few days of rest, I saw the sun was out and decided to go out for a walk with Cora and the other maids. Even though I was wearing a veiled hat, someone recognized Cora and started pointing and whispering at me. I ducked into a dress shop. There, I changed into a maid's uniform and had Cora's younger sister dress as me and continue walking around the city. With her face hidden by the veil, no one who didn't know me well would notice the difference in our figures, and with Cora by her side, no one should suspect anything. I hurried to a pastry shop on the west side of the city. As soon as I entered, I saw Aiden's personal attendant. He led me to the back courtyard without a word. Aiden was already waiting for me in the small courtyard. I finally let out a breath of relief. Seeing my state, Aiden found it a bit amusing. The first time you do something mischievous, you're always nervous. You'll get used to it. I sat down opposite him, and he pushed a plate of pastries toward me. Freshly baked cloud cakes. See if you like them. I took a small bite of a cake and nodded. I do. Aiden poured me a cup of floral tea. What is it that required such secrecy? In my letter to Aiden, I had mentioned a pastry shop and had Cora deliver it with some pastries. Most people didn't know, but this shop was actually owned by Aiden, though he himself disliked sweets. I would never normally send him sweets. He was perceptive and would have known I wanted to see him, and he would have made the arrangements. And he had. I put down the cloud cake and glanced around. Aiden said, "Don't worry, Feng Jian has already checked, there are no spies. There's something I need your help with, Aiden." "It sounds serious." I nodded. Aiden looked at me, slowly sipping his tea. "Tell me." But I thought he didn't like this kind of tea. I didn't dwell on it and lowered my voice. "I want to ask you to help me investigate that incident from years ago." Aiden's eyes sharpened with a hint of warning. "Why?" His gaze was so intense that I felt completely exposed. The speech I had prepared fell apart, and I stammered, unable to form a coherent sentence. Aiden tapped his finger on the table twice, and the pressure in the air was palpable. "Tell me the truth." I didn't know how to begin. I didn't know if I should. Seeing my distress, Aiden softened his voice. "Then let me ask you, who is having you watched?" I pressed my lips together. "Lord Wellington." "Is it related to that incident?" I could only nod. Aiden considered this for a moment. "And his current behavior toward you, is that also because of that incident?" I thought about it and nodded again. Aiden's voice grew colder. "Do you want to investigate this because of him or because of your family?" "Both." That single sound was enough to tell me that Aiden was displeased. But I didn't understand why he was suddenly upset. We looked at each other for a long moment before Aiden sighed. "Let me rephrase, you haven't given up on Julian Wellington yet?" I shook my head firmly. "No," those two words seemed to please him. His expression softened, and his voice became languid. "Since you've asked me yourself, Willow, how could I refuse to help?" Then his tone shifted and he coaxed, "But what reward can you offer me?" I thought for a moment. "Whatever you want, if I have it, it's yours." Aiden raised an eyebrow. "Really? Really?" He looked at me, a smile playing in his eyes. "Very good." After that cryptic remark, Aiden fell silent, seeming to be completely engrossed in his tea. Seeing this, I couldn't help but say, I should be getting back. Lord Wellington is watching me closely, and I'm afraid. "Don't worry, he has other things on his mind right now." "He does," Aiden said. "I've given him something to keep him busy." Julian was confined to his estate. What else could he be doing? But no matter how much I asked, Aiden wouldn't say another word. An hour later, the tea was finished and the pastries were eaten. I stood up to take my leave. He gestured to his attendant, Feng Jian. "I'll have him disguise himself as a guard in your courtyard later. In the future, if you need me, you can just tell him directly. It will save you the trouble." Given the circumstances, I didn't refuse, but I was becoming more and more indebted to Aiden. I was afraid I would never be able to repay him. On the way back, I learned from Feng Jian that Aiden had been waiting here for me every day since he received my letter. I hadn't specified which day I would come, for fear of being too obvious, but I never expected him to wait for me every single day. Suddenly, I remembered the night Aiden had stood guard outside my window. It seemed he had always been this way. I asked Feng Jian, what trouble did the Prime Minister cause for Lord Wellington? But Feng Jian remained tight-lipped. A few days later, I found out. Princess Isadora had been visiting the Wellington estate every day, trying to force Julian into a compromising position to pressure the Emperor into decreeing their marriage. In the past, hearing this would have pained me. But now, I felt nothing. I just wondered, if that was the case, was Princess Isadora's sudden appearance that day also related to Aiden? Chapter 8. Turning the tables and demanding an apology the next day, I heard that Julian had been ambushed and beaten in his own estate the night before. I was puzzled. Julian was a skilled martial artist, and he was in his own home. How could he have been beaten so easily? A sense of unease began to creep in. That unease became reality when I saw Leo. "What are you doing back here, Leo?" who had been grinning from ear to ear, froze at my sharp tone. Then his expression soured. "Sister, you've been through so much, and I didn't even know. You all kept it from me." So he did know. I grabbed his hand. "Did you beat up Lord Wellington?" Leo's eyebrows shot up. "You're so smart, sister. You guessed it right away." "HMPH, he dared to bully you. Did he think the Ashworth family has no one left?" He looked at me with bright eyes, as if expecting praise. I smacked him on the head in frustration. "You're in big trouble." Was Julian the type of person to be so easily ambushed? He must have known what Leo was planning, and decided to turn the tables. He might have even been the one who leaked the information to Leo in the first place, as a warning to me. Next, he would probably show up at our door demanding an apology. My face darkened. Seeing my expression, Leo grew nervous. "Sister, am I in trouble?" But I'm sure no one saw me sneak into the estate, and he didn't see my face when I was hitting him. I glared at him. There was no time to explain. I started pushing him toward the door. "You need to go back to the academy right now. We'll talk about this when Father gets back. If anyone asks, you say..." A frantic voice cut me off. "My lady, people from the Wellington estate are here." My heart sank. Leo was about to go out. "I'll take responsibility for my actions." I quickly pulled him back, wishing I could slap some sense into him. "Did you leave your brain at the academy? They set a trap for you, and you walked right into it. Leo Ashworth, you will go back to the academy right now. I don't care how you do it, even if you have to crawl. If anyone asks, you deny ever coming back here. Sister, go." I had just sent Leo out the side door when Julian's men arrived. "Miss Ashworth, Lord Wellington requests your presence." I took a deep breath and composed myself. "Lead the way." In the main hall, Julian was seated in the place of honor, his face dark and bruised. My parents sat below him, their expressions grim. When I entered, my mother anxiously pulled me down to sit beside her. Julian slowly looked up, his gaze sweeping across the room before settling on my father. "We're missing someone," my father forced a smile. "My son is at the academy up north." Julian raised an eyebrow. "Oh!" He then pulled a locket from his sleeve and threw it on the floor with a clatter. My heart seized. Julian smiled. "I remember this. It's Leo Ashworth's personal locket. He never takes it off. He used to boast to me that it was a matching set with his sister's for good luck." As he spoke, Julian's gaze shifted to me. "Today, at my estate, I was attacked by ruffians. In the struggle, I tore this locket from one of them. Is the Ashworth family planning to harbor a criminal?" His quiet accusation hung heavy in the air, making it hard for anyone to breathe. My father's smile didn't reach his eyes. "Lord Wellington, there must be some misunderstanding. My son has been at the academy. Perhaps someone stole his locket to frame our family. And your proof? If you don't believe me, Lord Wellington, you are welcome to search our home. You can also send someone to the academy to see if my son has left." Julian sneered. "Fine." My hands, hidden in my sleeves, were clenched tightly. "Leo, you had better not let me down." 15 minutes later, the search party returned, reporting that they had not found Leo. An hour later, the men sent to the academy came back. Trailing behind them were a bruised and battered Leo and another young man. My internal alarms blared. Leo immediately began to complain to my father. "Father, I'm not going back to school. They're all picking on me. I got into a fight with them." My father slammed his hand on the table. "Nonsense." Suddenly, Leo spotted the locket on the floor. "Huh?" He picked it up, then pulled an identical locket from his own pocket. "Sister, did you drop your locket?" Not just my parents, but even I was stunned. I shook my head, my mind racing. I quickly stood up. "As you can see, Lord Wellington, Leo is innocent. Someone is trying to frame him." Leo looked at us confused. "What frame up? What are you talking about?" My mother explained what had happened, and he jumped to his feet. "Which bastard is trying to frame me? Wait a second. Lord Wellington, you're going to marry the princess. Then what about my sister? Are you breaking your promise to her?" Fine. You all kept it from me and let my sister suffer like this." "Lord Wellington, what did my sister ever do to you for you to treat her this way?" He glared at Julian, looking as if he were about to punch him. My father quickly held him back. "As you can see, Lord Wellington, Leo is innocent." Julian stood up and brushed off his robes. "It seems I was mistaken. However, Leo Ashworth was brawling at the academy. He should be punished." With that one casual sentence, he had ended Leo's academic career. And no other academy would dare to accept Leo for fear of offending Julian Wellington. After the men from the Wellington estate had left, my father, furious, slapped Leo across the back. "Look at the mess you've made. Good I didn't want to go back anyway. I want to, you insolent boy." My father chased Leo around the room. In the end, Leo was sentenced to kneel in the ancestral hall. That night, I brought him some food. He was kneeling haphazardly. "Sister, explain yourself," Leo boasted as he ate. "Aren't I clever? I realized my locket was gone as soon as I left. I rushed back to the academy and immediately picked a fight. When the headmaster asked, I just said they were picking on me and that I didn't want to study anymore, so I was settling old scores." "What about the locket?" An identical locket couldn't have been made in an hour, and Leo wasn't clever enough to think of getting a fake one. It's Samuel's, the one who came back with me. I raised an eyebrow. Leo continued, Samuel is my roommate at the academy. His sister is frail, and after I told him my locket was for good luck, he had a copy made for her. I never thought it would come in handy like this. Heth, it was his idea too. He's not great at his studies, but he's full of clever tricks. We're good friends. He was afraid Lord Wellington wouldn't believe I hadn't left the academy, so he came back with me to be my witness. I sighed, thank goodness. When Leo was in my courtyard, Feng Jian had glanced at me twice, a silent offer to take Leo back himself. But I hadn't accepted. I thought, one day Leo will have to lead this family. He can't be completely without skills. It turned out that while he might not have the sharpest mind, his fighting skills were decent. His academic career was over now. Perhaps he could join the army. Chapter 9. It's my own willingness. It has nothing to do with you, Leo. Sister. He looked up at me. I considered for a moment. Do you want to join the army? Leo instantly stopped eating, his eyes shining. Are you afraid of hardship? He shook his head firmly. No, I looked at him seriously. All right, I will ask the Prime Minister to get you into the army, but you will receive no special treatment. You will have to start as a common soldier. And the battlefield is a dangerous place. You could be killed. Leo immediately puffed out his chest. I won't die, I'll become a great general and return in glory. He grabbed my hand excitedly. Sister, can you ask the Prime Minister to let Samuel join with me? He shook my hand, pleading. Please, sister. Samuel came back with me, so the academy won't want him either. Please. The Prime Minister likes you so much, he'll definitely agree. Just ask him. My heart stopped. What nonsense are you talking about? Leo looked at me, confused. Isn't it true? When he was a boy, he only ever played with you. He never played with me. Oh, right. Father probably won't agree. Leo's spirits sank. I knew Father would never agree. Just wait. After leaving the ancestral hall, I thought for a long time. I felt that my engagement to Julian would likely never be broken. It had been dragged out for so long, and the wedding date was less than 2 months away. If I was forced to marry into the Wellington family, and if Julian truly intended to take revenge on my family, then I had to, at the very least, protect Leo. I couldn't protect him in the capital. I had to send him away. Father wouldn't agree, so I would have to act without his permission. The next day, under Feng Jian's escort, I went to see Aiden. I had 2 reasons, to ask about the investigation and to ask for another favor. The help Aiden had given me had already exceeded the bounds of sibling affection, but I didn't dare to think too deeply about it. In his study, Aiden was bent over his desk, dealing with official business. He was quiet and composed, like a figure in a painting. Hearing my approach, he didn't look up. You're here. Good, help me grind the ink. I went to his side and picked up the ink stick. The room was perfectly silent. Only the soft sounds of grinding ink and turning pages filled the air. After some time, the wind picked up outside and snowflakes began to drift in. I went to close the window, and when I turned back, I saw Aiden watching me with a faint, knowing smile. Do you know what it implies, Willow, to close the door and windows in broad daylight? What? I was just trying to keep the draft off him. Aiden beckoned to me with his finger, and I walked over. Suddenly, he grabbed my hand. I tried to pull back. Don't move, you have ink on your hand. He carefully and gently wiped a small smudge from my little finger. He said, what happens in a room like this is not for others to see. He was answering my previous question. For some reason, my face grew hot, and the place where he touched my hand seemed to burn. After wiping away the ink, Aiden didn't let go of my hand. He slowly looked up, his clear, light-colored eyes reflecting my nervous expression. What have you come for this time, Willow? I wanted to ask you to help Leo get into the army. The words came out in a stammer. Aiden's lips curved into a smile. You ask for so much, Willow, but I have yet to receive any reward. What do you want? As I said this, Aiden suddenly pulled me into his lap. I was sitting on his legs, his arm wrapped around my waist. My heart began to pound, and my breathing grew heavy. Lord Fairfax, SHH. Aiden's lips were by my ear, his warm breath sending a shiver down my spine. I tried to pull away, but his chest was solid behind me. I tried to escape, but his arm held me tight. I began to wonder if coming here had been the right choice. A voice like rich wine whispered in my ear, you always used to call me Brother Aiden. The sound was intoxicating. Brother Aiden. As I spoke, I realized my voice was tight, thick, almost my face flushed red. Aiden let out a low, pleased laugh. Willow, I've been waiting for you to come to me. I didn't know how to respond, my body rigid. You know, when I help you, there are always conditions. You still have a chance. You can still refuse me now. I think I understood. Aiden must have found something in his investigation. He hadn't told me because he was waiting for me to come to him willingly. Suddenly, all the signs and words rushed into my mind. My father. What is the nature of your relationship with the Prime Minister? Julian. Aiden Fairfax is in love with you, isn't he? He hid it so well. Leo. The Prime Minister likes you so much. If I didn't understand by now, I would be a complete fool. As I turned my head, the tip of my nose brushed against Aiden's chin. He went still. I felt the arm around my waist tighten. I quickly apologized. Sorry. Too close. We were too close. Aiden's eyes darkened. Have you made your decision? I nodded. Under his watchful gaze, I pried his hand from my waist and slowly stood up. Aiden's eyes never left me. I pressed my lips together, my mind a battlefield of conflicting thoughts. Finally, I spoke. I'm sorry. The warmth in Aiden's eyes turned to ice. You'd better be sure. The Ashworth family is no match for the Wellingtons. I lowered my gaze. I know, but I looked up, meeting his eyes directly. I don't want to take advantage of your feelings. If he wanted my family's influence or my body, I could close my eyes and let him have his way. But he wanted my heart. I knew what it felt like to be hurt by the one you love. Since I couldn't return his feelings, it was better not to give him any false hope. He was like the moon, high above, pure and bright. I couldn't imagine what it would be like to see the moon fall. He didn't deserve that. I let out a breath. I will find another way. Thank you for all your help, Lord Fairfax. I curtsied and turned to leave. As I reached the door, I heard frantic footsteps behind me. Then I was pulled into a strong embrace. Aiden held me, pressing me tightly against him. Don't do this, Willow. Don't do this to me. He held me for a long, long time. When he finally let go, I saw that his eyes were red. Lord Fairfax? He pressed his fingers to my lips. Aiden managed a pale smile. Willow, I'm not asking for anything else. Just give me a chance. Just try, please. Try to accept him. Try to see if I could love him. If you can, we will spend our lives together. And if you can't, I do this willingly. It has nothing to do with you. Hearing those words, a sharp pain pierced my heart. Aiden lowered his head, cupping my face in his hands so carefully. Will you? Looking at him then, my heart softened, and as if bewitched, I said, all right. Chapter 10. Marry me, Aiden, and I sat down to talk business. Getting Leo into the army is not difficult. I can help you with that, but there is one thing you need to consider carefully, whether you want to continue this investigation. Aiden told me about my grandfather and the old Marquis Wellington. They had been classmates. At 18, my grandfather had become the top scholar in the empire, while the old Marquis had joined the army. My grandfather's career had been brilliant, and he had brought the already prosperous Ashworth family to even greater heights. A few years later, the old Marquis returned victorious from a long campaign. Both had been ennobled, and when they met again, they had arranged for their families to be joined by marriage. But when their children were born, they were all sons, so the engagement was passed down to their grandchildren. But their good fortune did not last. My grandfather had made many enemies over the years. The old Marquis suffered from old wounds from his years of campaigning. When the new emperor ascended the throne, both men's fortunes turned. It was then that a provincial lord marched on the capital. What followed was a brutal power struggle. The old Marquis had command of the army and was able to protect his family. But the Ashworth family, a line of scholars and officials, could not withstand the onslaught. During the upheaval, my grandfather went to the palace and never returned. Nearly half of the young men of the Ashworth family were killed, and the rest scattered. Afterward, the emperor declared that my grandfather had died saving him, preserving his honor. The once great Ashworth family was reduced to just my father overnight. My father was the youngest and most ordinary of my grandfather's 3 children. He had expected to live a life of leisure, with his 2 older brothers to lead the family. Instead, he was forced to grow up overnight and take on the burden of a crumbling estate. For decades, the Ashworth family had endured the scorn and schemes of other noble houses. When I was born, the family was on the verge of collapse. My father took me to the Wellington estate and secured my engagement to Julian. It was this engagement that had kept our family afloat. When he finished, Aiden looked at me. "You must have guessed." I held my breath, unsure of what to say. Yes, I had guessed. The Ashworth family had resources. Could we really not have withstood the attacks from the other families? Why did my grandfather never return from the palace? The old Marquis was my grandfather's good friend. Why didn't he help? I think I knew the answer. It was the Emperor's game of checks and balances. My grandfather and the old Marquis were both powerful men. If their families were to unite, their influence would rival the throne. No emperor would allow that. My grandfather had traded his life for the survival of his family. That was why Aiden had told me to think carefully about whether I wanted to continue the investigation. My head was spinning. And the Wellingtons? I drank 2 glasses of water to calm myself and thought it through. If, in my past life, I had believed that the Wellingtons' failure to help was the cause of my family's downfall, would I have grown to hate Julian and his family? Honestly, no. Knowing the truth now, I still wouldn't. Under the Emperor's power, it was a miracle to have survived at all. If there was anyone to hate, it was the Emperor. Why would I blame the Wellingtons? Besides, from what Julian had said, we had been married in our past life. In that case, our fortunes would have been tied together. Why would I have sought my own destruction? Then why was Julian so convinced that I had betrayed him? I felt a surge of frustration, my thoughts in a tangle. "Don't panic, I'm here." Aiden squeezed my hand reassuringly. "There's one more thing." I looked at him, waiting. After the upheaval, the Wellington family never surrendered their military authority. The old Marquis is gone, and the current Marquis is leading the army on the frontier. Only Lord Wellington remains in the capital. Recently, the Emperor has been summoning me frequently. He is growing impatient. My heart skipped a beat. Perhaps the Emperor had intended to reclaim military power back then, but the Wellingtons had refused. Now, it seemed the Emperor's patience had run out. I suddenly understood. In my past life, the one who destroyed the Wellington family was the Emperor. What are your thoughts, Willow? Aiden posed the question to me. I looked into his eyes and immediately understood what he was suggesting. He wanted to use this information to force the Wellingtons to break the engagement. I thought for a moment. Don't you think it's strange, Aiden, that Lord Wellington suddenly accepted the princess's advances? All the pieces fell into place. Julian had been reborn. He must have known the Emperor's intentions, which was why he had accepted the princess and made a public spectacle of it. First, it would tie him to the royal family. Second, if that failed, the princess could be used as a hostage. No wonder the Emperor had been so reluctant to decree their marriage, despite the princess's repeated requests, even her attempts to force the matter. Aiden looked at me, and he understood. "You think he knows?" I nodded. So that plan wouldn't work. The Emperor was already determined to eliminate the Wellington family. Even though Julian had been reborn, there was no guarantee he could change their fate. If I were to marry into that family, the Ashworths would be dragged down with them. This wasn't just about my future. It was about the lives of my entire family. I was filled with anxiety, but I was helpless. Aiden considered for a moment. "There is another way, but it would require a sacrifice from you." I looked at him eagerly. "Please tell me." Aiden looked at me and said 2 words. "Marry me?" I was stunned. What did you say?" He explained logically. "The Emperor wants to suppress the Wellingtons. With the public animosity between you and Julian, I can persuade the Emperor to decree your marriage to me. At the same time, I can use Julian's infidelity as a reason to reject his marriage to the princess. This would restore your family's honor, and your father would no longer have to worry about who will support the Ashworths. It would also serve as a lesson to the Wellingtons and a warning to Julian. However, the gossip about you in the capital will likely increase." Before I could speak, Aiden continued, "Don't worry, I will not force you. If in the future you find you do not love me, I will give you divorce papers and let you go. Leo is about to join the army. Although I won't give him any special treatment, I must ensure he returns alive. After all, he is the only son of the Ashworth family. That in itself was special treatment. I pressed my lips together, my heart heavy. Seeing my expression, Aiden smiled gently. "You don't have to feel guilty. I do this willingly. I want you, and for that I am willing to pay the price, whether it is with time, money, or power. If you feel you owe me, then try to love me." That will be my compensation. At the mention of compensation, my eyes flickered. I may have been shy, but I knew what kind of compensation a man wanted from a woman. But something wasn't right. Why did it feel like I had come full circle, right back to where I started? I had been so determined not to take advantage of Aiden's feelings for me, and I had made that clear to him. But now, it seemed, nothing had changed. I looked at Aiden. He was smiling at me with no trace of calculation in his eyes. I gritted my teeth. All right. I accept your help, Aiden. In the future, I will do everything in my power to repay you. Aiden smiled at me and said nothing for a long time. Chapter 11. The Imperial Decree. Aiden moved quickly. Within a few days, he had arranged for Leo to join the army. We kept it a secret from my parents, so on the day Leo left, I was the only one there to see him off. He and Samuel were dressed in plain clothes. At first, they were cheerful, but as we neared the barracks, they grew quiet. A lump formed in my throat. I'll be waiting for you at home. Leo looked at me, his eyes red. Suddenly, he threw his arms around me, his voice choked with tears. Sister, wait for me. I'll come back a great general in full glory. I won't let anyone bully you ever again. I'll make that bastard Julian Wellington pay. Sister, I patted his back. All right, you're a grown man now. Stop crying. You should go before mother and father find out. Leo let go of me and nodded firmly. Beside him, Samuel's eyes were also red, but he showed no signs of reluctance or fear. I looked at him. Return safely. Samuel was taken aback, then nodded. Thank you, sister. This infuriated Leo, who punched Samuel in the arm. She's my sister, why are you calling her that? Your sister is my sister. Don't be so stingy. I watched them bicker as they walked into the barracks. Aiden had said that our empire was currently at war in the Northwest, and they would likely be sent there. The Northwest, that barren, desolate land. Leo, you must return safely. Tears streamed down my face before I even realized it. I wiped them away and turned, then froze. Julian was standing behind me, watching me. The next moment, Princess Isadora skipped to his side and linked her arm through his affectionately. She followed his gaze and saw me, and her smile vanished. Willow Ashworth, you're like a ghost that won't go away. Did you find out where Jules would be and follow us? Let me tell you, my uncle is about to decree our marriage. Just you wait. I'll make you pay then. The princess was gloating, but Julian just stared at me coldly. The people on the street were all watching us, whispering among themselves. Suddenly, a clear voice cut through the crowd. Oh, and how, I wonder, does the princess intend to make pay my betrothed? Everyone turned to see a luxurious carriage approaching. Aiden, dressed in a purple robe, stepped out gracefully. I noticed he was holding something. Aiden came to my side and, in full view of everyone, took my hand. I immediately felt Julian's gaze on me, sharp as a knife. Aiden subtly shielded me, blocking his view. I let out a small sigh of relief. Then, my attention was drawn to the bright yellow scroll in his hand. My heart began to pound. Across from us, the princess frowned. What is the meaning of this, Lord Fairfax? Aiden smiled and slowly raised his hand. The imperial decree was blindingly conspicuous. He said, His Majesty could not bear to see Lord Wellington and Willow torment each other any longer. He has issued a decree, annulling the engagement between the Ashworth and Wellington families. I was a ward in the Ashworth home as a child and have long harbored deep feelings for Willow. Therefore, I petitioned His Majesty to grant us marriage. As he spoke, he looked down at me, his gaze full of devotion. The world around me faded into a dull roar. All I could see was him, his eyes soft with affection, his wish finally granted. He had said he was worried about the gossip. So now, he stood before everyone with an imperial decree, declaring that he had been the one to seek the marriage, that he had been the one in love with me, shielding me from all malicious whispers. My eyes welled up with tears. Aiden led me to the carriage, then turned back to the princess and Julian. I must hurry to deliver the decree. I bid you farewell. The driver called to the horses, and we started toward my family's estate. Behind us, chaos erupted, punctuated by the princess's cry. Jules, I lifted the curtain and saw Julian on one knee, coughing up a large mouthful of blood that stained the ground red. He was staring straight at me, his eyes wild with emotion, his rims turning red. Even from a distance, I could see his back trembling. He seemed to realize I was watching and reached a trembling hand out to me. But the carriage turned a corner, and the street disappeared from view. Aiden's voice came from above me. What, do you feel sorry for him? There was a hint of displeasure in his tone. I turned back to him. No, I just found it laughable that we had come to this. I looked up at Aiden. Brother Aiden, if one day I were to betray you, what would you do? Aiden looked down, a secret smile playing on his lips. You would have to love me first to be able to betray me. I pouted and said nothing. Aiden chuckled. If you were to betray me, it must be because I wasn't good enough. It wouldn't be your fault. His words mingled with the wind, creating ripples in my heart. I pressed on, even if it was the kind of betrayal that destroyed your family. Willow Ashworth. It was the first time Aiden had ever used my full name. He looked into my eyes and said, word for word, I know what kind of person you are. If it ever came to that, it would have to be because I had done something wrong or because there was some irreconcilable hatred between us. I wouldn't blame you. I would have deserved it. In that moment, I truly felt the depth of Aiden's love for me. You really wouldn't hate me? Aiden smiled gently. What good would hating you do? He was right. What good would it do? Aiden was about to say more when the driver called out, My lord, we've arrived. We were at the gates of the Ashworth estate. My parents had already received the news and were waiting for us. Aiden helped me out of the carriage and didn't let go of my hand. A single decree had ended my engagement to Julian and sealed my engagement to Aiden. And the wedding date was set for 2 months from now. Today was the day my father was supposed to find out about me sending Leo to the army. I had been prepared for a lecture, but because of the decree, that matter was temporarily forgot. Later, Aiden and my father spoke in the study, while my mother took me to my room and chattered on and on. It was clear she was very happy. My parents insisted Aiden stay for dinner and personally saw him to the door. As he was leaving, Aiden gave me a look. I didn't understand what it meant. I had expected my father to scold me for my willfulness, to punish me by sending me to the ancestral hall. But he said nothing. I stole a glance at him. He snorted. The Prime Minister told me everything. It will be good for Leo to get some experience. Now you go and prepare your wedding dress. You're about to be a bride. You should learn to be more composed. I'll go right now. The imperial decree had lifted the spirits of the entire Ashworth household. Chapter 12. The wedding day the next day, I heard that Julian had fallen ill with a cold, and that while the princess was caring for him, they had become intimate. Now their marriage was inevitable. The announcement of their wedding date, coincidentally, was the same as my original wedding date with Julian. In 2 months, Julian and I would each be marrying someone else. It was quite ironic. After we were engaged, Aiden visited the Ashworth estate often, and all was harmonious. But I knew that beneath the peaceful surface, a storm was brewing. I had a feeling something would happen on my wedding day. Just as I was thinking this, someone tapped me on the forehead. Aiden sat down in front of me. What are you thinking about so intently? Nothing. Aiden took the needle and thread from my hands. Don't sew anymore? You're distracted. You'll prick your finger. We can just hire an embroiderer. I shook my head. Mother says that only when the bride embroiders her own veil will the marriage be happy and blessed. I had embroidered one before, but I don't want to use it now. It doesn't feel fair to you, so I'm making a new one. It will be done in a few days. Aiden was silent for a long time. What's wrong? He suddenly pulled me into his arms, holding me so tightly I could barely breathe. He whispered in my ear, his voice hoarse, So you are looking forward to this marriage, Willow? I could hear the cautious hope in his voice. I hugged him back. Yes, I am. He had been so good to me. I was willing to try. Aiden released me, his clear eyes shimmering. He slowly leaned in, closer and closer. A light kiss landed on the corner of my mouth and lingered. I held my breath, nervously clutching his clothes. Gradually, our breaths mingled. The sewing basket on the table was knocked over, and the unfinished veil fell in a crumpled heap. When the long kiss finally ended, I was breathless. Aiden gently held me, patting my back soothingly. I leaned against his chest, my face as red as a lobster. He kissed my earlobe, then asked, Can you tell me why you said those things in the carriage that day? I tensed. I hadn't expected him to ask about that. Before I could speak, he said, It's all right if you don't want to. I thought for a moment and decided to tell him. I told him about Julian being reborn. When I finished, Aiden was silent for a long time, just holding me. As the sky outside began to darken, I gently pushed him, signaling that it was time for him to go. It was then that Aiden finally spoke. I am not Julian Wellington. You don't need to worry, I whispered. I know, and watched him leave. A long period of peace followed. Aiden became very busy, and even Julian didn't come to bother me. In the blink of an eye, it was my wedding day. I was anxious, distracted all morning, with a nagging feeling that something terrible was about to happen. As I was getting ready, the wedding attendants and my maids were suddenly knocked unconscious. The next moment, my wrist was grabbed. Come with me. Julian was dressed in a red wedding robe, looking disheveled, but his eyes were filled with a possessive fire. All my anxieties culminated in this moment. Julian, are you mad? He was supposed to be picking up his bride, the princess. What was he doing here? His eyes were bloodshot. You can hate me, you can resent me, but I cannot stand by and watch you marry another man. Willow, Aiden Fairfax is not a good man. The rumors about you two were spread by his own people. He had the imperial decree for a long time, but never told you. He deliberately had the princess distract me so he could get closer to you. Hearing this, I was a little surprised, but I didn't let it show on my face. So? You can't marry him. I've already made arrangements with my father. We can escape the capital during the chaos today. Willow, come with me. Julian looked at me with sincere eyes. If I had been flustered before, I was completely calm now. Julian, you should go. Escape while you still have the chance, while you can still save your family. Julian froze. You know, I nodded. So don't drag me down with you. He took a step back in disbelief, releasing my hand. I looked at him. I have always believed that I would never betray you. Go and find out the truth. When you do, you can tell me, but that's all. It had always been a thorn in my side. Not knowing wouldn't kill me, but it would always be there. In the end, between his family and me, Julian chose his family. As he left, he gave me one last, deep look and asked, "Have you fallen in love with Aiden Fairfax?" I didn't answer him. I didn't even know the answer myself. The moment Julian left, Aiden appeared. Willow, I looked at him. You've been hiding for a while, haven't you? He smiled. Not too long. Why didn't you answer his last question? I countered. Why did you let him go? After all, the emperor wanted him dead. And Aiden was supposed to be loyal to the emperor. Aiden looked in the direction Julian had gone and sighed, lowering his voice. The Marquis Wellington has held great power for many years, guarding the frontier. No foreign tribes have dared to invade. Although there were whispers at court, the Marquis never overstepped his bounds. But in the last life, his family was destroyed and Julian died in the capital. Aiden's voice was tinged with regret. If the Marquis had truly wanted to rebel, he would have done so long ago. He hadn't dared to relinquish his military authority because he knew the emperor was wary of him. Without that power, he would have likely ended up like my grandfather, dying a silent, unexplained death. He had guarded the frontier but left Julian in the capital, which was a way of showing the emperor that he had no intention of rebelling. Julian was, in effect, a hostage, but the emperor, it seemed, didn't understand. And Aiden had become prime minister at such a young age with immense prestige. It reminded me of my grandfather. Aiden reached out and stroked my face. Don't worry. I know what I'm doing. So, what Julian said just now, was it true? Did you do all those things? Aiden sighed and took my hand. Who do you believe, him or me? I thought for a moment. You. Aiden's eyes softened, and he leaned in to kiss me. It was a deep kiss, and I was powerless to resist. After a long moment, he pulled away and whispered in my ear. Then that's all that matters. Someone outside shouted, "The auspicious hour is almost here, go see if the groom has arrived." Aiden squeezed my cheek. See you in a moment, my lady. He leaped out the window, and then, to the cheers of the crowd, he entered through the main gate to marry me. Despite the small hiccup, the rest of the wedding went smoothly. As I sat in the bridal chamber waiting for Aiden, I heard news of the princess's wedding. Princess Isadora had been taken hostage by Julian. The wedding banquet had nearly turned into a funeral. In the chaos, Julian had escaped. The emperor was furious and had issued a decree for his capture. Dead or alive. Chapter 13. The grand finale. Because of the incident with Julian, there weren't many guests at the wedding, so Aiden returned to the bridal chamber early. The attendants had all left. I sat on the edge of the bed, nervous. When he lifted my veil, I saw Aiden's dazzling smile. Before I could say anything, he tilted my chin up and kissed me. My mind flashed back to the day before the wedding, when my mother had come to me with an instructional booklet. I pushed him away and Aiden let go, his red-rimmed eyes suppressing a deep desire. "I'm sorry, I was just so happy. I didn't mean to scare you." His voice was incredibly hoarse. I scooted over, trying to think of what to say. But Aiden seemed to read my mind and smiled. "Don't be afraid, I won't force you." He pecked me on the corner of my mouth. "Willow?" I answered with a soft hum, but he said nothing more. He held me for a long time, then got up and went to the washroom without another word. Nothing happened that night. I slept soundly. It was spring now, and Aiden was always busy. I could sense that something major was about to happen at court. Leo wrote to me every month, telling me about his life in the army, about how many enemies he had killed. Life went on, a quiet stream. My relationship with Aiden became more and more natural. By the end of summer, the emperor had fallen ill and did not recover. The crown prince took over the affairs of state. During this time, Aiden was even busier. He would go to the palace before dawn and return after midnight. I barely saw him. One night, I waited for a long time, nearly falling asleep before I saw Aiden return, weary from a long day. "Why are you still awake?" I covered my mouth and yawned. "Waiting for you?" Aiden's expression softened, and he came over and lifted me onto the bed. "I've been busy lately, you don't have to wait up for me." I tugged on his hand. "I know. You leave before I wake up and come back after I'm asleep. It must be exhausting." "So I was thinking, you don't have to travel back and forth. Aren't there quarters in the palace for officials to rest?" I was trying to be considerate, but Aiden's face darkened, and he pinched my cheek, a little too hard. He didn't say a word as he washed up and got into bed. By now, I was used to sharing a bed with him. Normally, Aiden would pull me into his arms and hold my hand as we fell asleep. But this time, he lay quietly on the outer edge of the bed, his eyes closed, as if he were already asleep. I felt a strange sense of unease. "Aiden." After we were married, I had stopped calling him brother. It felt wrong. He wouldn't let me call him Lord Fairfax, saying it was too formal. So I had taken to calling him by his name. "Are you asleep?" "No." I turned on my side to look at him. "What's wrong?" Aiden turned to me, a look of resentment in his eyes. Suddenly, he rolled on top of me. "What are you doing?" I panicked for a moment. Aiden covered my mouth with his, kissing me almost punishingly. He said, "I travel back and forth between the palace and home, day after day, just to see you, to hold you. And you try to push me away." He sounded hurt. The longer we were together, the more I realized that Aiden wasn't as cold and celestial as he once seemed. He had his little tempers. I tried to soothe him. "I was just thinking of you. If you don't want to, then you don't have to. I'll wait for you every night, all right?" "All right. You used to like it when I called you Brother Aiden, didn't you? Say it." Brother Aiden. By late autumn, the emperor had passed away and the crown prince ascended the throne. Aiden had been meeting with the new emperor frequently. I had a feeling I knew why the old emperor's illness had been so sudden. It wasn't until the depths of winter that Aiden finally had some time to rest. We had been married for a year. Leo wrote to say that he was returning to the capital with the army and would be home in time for the new year. Unexpectedly, the Marquis Wellington, who had not been back to the capital in over a decade, also returned. This time, he voluntarily surrendered his military authority and resigned from his post. And for the first time in a year, I heard news of Julian Wellington. He had inherited his father's title and had become a young general in the army, shouldering the responsibility of his family. The day Leo returned, he marched straight to the Wellington estate and beat Julian to a pulp. Miraculously, Julian didn't fight back. When I heard about it, I was skeptical, but Leo said, he owed me his life. The army had made Leo more mature, but at home, he was still the same. He looked at me with smug satisfaction. "Sister, I got your revenge for you." Leo told me that there had been many battles in the Northwest. Julian had been sent there as well. During one encounter, Julian had made a mistake and was nearly killed. I was so brave and selfless. I flew in and saved him. I wanted to beat him up then and there for you, sister, but we were in the middle of a battle. I looked at him, amused. Enough with the stories, let's eat. In the blink of an eye, the new year had passed. It was time for Leo to return to the army. On the day I saw him off, I saw Julian from a distance. He was dressed in black, standing silently in the snow, his gaze fixed on me. He looked like he wanted to say something, but he didn't dare to approach. Aiden held my hand, and after seeing Leo off, we went home. When we got back, Aiden said to me, I've had someone keeping an eye on Julian. That thorn in your side, it can finally be removed. You never betrayed him. He misunderstood. Aiden told me that after Julian went to the frontier, he had been investigating what happened in his past life. The one who had caused the downfall of the Wellington family was not me, but one of his father's most trusted men. He had stolen the Marquis's military seal and given it to the late emperor, which was why the family was destroyed, and the Marquis was unable to save Julian. At the time, I had apparently discovered the spy in the household, but I was captured and held hostage, which was why Julian thought we were working together. While I was trying to deal with the spy, Julian had escaped. I was later imprisoned. Julian never came to save me, believing it was all a trap. In the end, he was killed by the late emperor's assassins, and I died in a dark prison cell. The day Julian learned the truth was the same day Leo saved his life. Now I understood why he had been so distracted on the battlefield. How do you know all this in such detail? I asked Aiden, confused. He snorted but didn't answer. Just then, a servant came to report that the young Marquis Wellington had come to call. I suddenly remembered what I had said to him on my wedding day. I have always believed that I would never betray you. Go and find out the truth. When you do, you can tell me, but that's all. He must have come to tell me the truth. But I already knew. Aiden turned him away. After that, Julian came almost every day. The winter snows were heavy. I had Cora tell him that I already knew, but he still wouldn't leave. He just asked her, "Can I see her just once?" What was the point of seeing me? To apologize, to repent? What would that change? I didn't need it anymore. Rain or shine, Julian came every day. The gossip about us started up again in the capital. One day, Cora told me that Julian was here again. "My lady, it's been over 10 days. Perhaps you should." Aiden returned just then and gave Cora a cold look. She immediately fell silent and excused herself. Aiden pulled me into his arms and kissed the corner of my mouth. "My lady, your husband is not pleased." His kiss was possessive. "Willow, don't go see him. You are not to see him." I wrapped my arms around his neck and for the first time returned his kiss. "I won't," I whispered, trying to reassure him. The past was in the past. In the heat of the moment, Aiden asked me, "Do you love me, Willow?" I looked into his eyes. "I don't know, but I want to spend the rest of my life with you. I think that must be love." "I love you too." Inside, they kissed passionately. Outside, a man was covered in snow. Julian looked at the door that would never open for him and finally collapsed, coughing up a mouthful of blood. He had been given a second chance. He had saved his family, but he had lost the person he loved most. He thought, perhaps on that wedding day, he should have just taken her and run, regardless of the consequences. Memories of the past flooded his mind, and he began to laugh, a hollow, broken sound. It was his fault. He hadn't loved her enough, hadn't trusted her enough. This was his punishment. Julian looked up at the falling snow and vaguely remembered that snow viewing soiree a year ago. He thought he would hate the snow for the rest of his life. "I'm sorry, Willow,"